Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Results Mastery seminar. This is a seminar to celebrate 31 years in business for me, and it's all about really what's working right now. That's the subject of today, and I'm going to be talking about some of the latest technologies and ideas and ways in which businesses can grow. And I'm also going to be talking about some of the things that we've done in the past that have worked and really, you do wonder whether those old techniques are still as just as valuable today as they've ever been. My belief is that certainly worth testing. So I'm joined today by Alison and Peter. Thanks for being here, both of you, and looking forward to your input as well. Any ideas you may have, any things that you've tried, or any questions that you've got, please feel free to ask. One of the things that I think you'd have to be living on the planet Mars not to have heard about or probably used is AI. We live in a world of AI. There's lots of I don't know, scaremongering amongst the media and so on, and lots of fear about it that it's going to take all our jobs and our businesses are going to disappear and so on and so forth. And there's also on the flip side people who think, wow, this is just amazing. What's going to happen and how are things going to change? The one thing I do know for certain is that things are going to change. It's just the way it is. We are starting. We're like I'm going to estimate, and I have no idea whether this is true. We're about 10% of it at the moment. We're real. We've gone from here. We're just starting to go here, and we're going to go way up here inside the next few years. And it seems to me every day. Certainly every week there's something new. There's a new AI. There's somebody telling us what we ought to be doing and so on and so forth. So, if you're listening to this now, then great. If you're listening to it in 6 months' time, because it's on YouTube or on my podcast or whatever, then, you can be sure that things will have changed from what I'm telling you now, which is why I think, one of the things that you can do and you should be doing in 2026 is, I suppose, attending events like this and listening to videos and attending, day-long marketing and reading books and listening to podcasts and so on and so forth. Because if you're not up to date, you're probably going to be falling behind. And that's what you don't want to do. I heard somebody a little while ago say, it's not that AI is going to take your business, it's that somebody who knows and understands it and uses it is going to take your business. And I think that's possibly true. I don't know. But I'm going to go through a short presentation and then open up the room for questions and discussions. So if you just bear with me a second, I'll just share my screen if I may. Here we go. Where is it? There it is. No, I'll just move to this. So this is a system that I developed, I suppose you could say over the last 31 years. It's only been in existence, I think, for about the last 4 or 5 years. And it just represents what I believe is probably one of the biggest problems that people have with marketing. And the problem is this. I like to tell a story of, imagine that I'm a single man and I decide that I want to try and get married. And so my strategy for getting married is to walk up to women in the street that I don't know and go, "Hi, my name's Steve. Would you like to marry me?" They look at me as though I'm a total idiot and probably, bang me over the head with whatever they've got available and run away as quickly as possible. But I might eventually, if I keep doing that, find somebody who's crazy enough to say yes. The problem with that is that that's going to take me a long, long time. And yet we do this all the time in business. We go up to strangers on LinkedIn and we ask them to connect to us. They say yes. And then within 10 seconds, we've sent them a pitch. We've sent them a message on LinkedIn asking them if they want to buy our service. We don't know them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they do. We might have a rough idea what they do, but we don't really know. And the same thing happens not on only on LinkedIn, but on everything. And, that I believe is part of the problem with lots of businesses. Now, obviously, if you're a retail shop and people walk in your shop to buy Mars bars, that doesn't apply. You're going to try and sell them when they come in your shop. But if you're in the sort of helping industry, consultant, advisor, trainer, accountant, solicitor, and many, many other industries, then this model definitely applies to you. So the first problem, and I believe one of the biggest problems that we all face, is overcoming obscurity. We're not Apple, we're not Nike, we're not Vodafone, and so on and so forth. We're not world famous. We're not even famous in our world. I'm not famous on the Isle of Wight. I want to get known more on the Isle of Wight. I've got clients in Dubai. I'm even less famous there. People don't, hardly anybody knows me in Dubai. I've been there about 5 or 6 times before COVID. I've not been back there. They don't know me. And so, surprise, surprise, I don't win any business. So, if you could get whatever your numbers are right now, if you could double that, then you could argue that you could double your business, couldn't you? If I win all my business from LinkedIn or email marketing, let's use email. That's my prime way of marketing my business is on email. So I send out an email campaign to my 10,000 contacts, and that wins me X amount of business per month and per year. If I manage to grow my database to 20,000 people over the next 12 months, then, logic being logic, you'd think that I could double my business. Now, that might not be so. It might only grow by 60%, 70%, because I've not, warmed them up yet. Certainly not, if I went from 10 to 20 tomorrow, I wouldn't expect to grow the business by double immediately. It'd take time to warm them up and so on and so forth. So if that's the case, then that needs to be something that we do. I hear people all the time tell me things like, oh well, I'm on LinkedIn and that's a prime way that we market our business. I say, oh great, okay. How many contacts have you got? Oh, I've got 2,000. Okay, what's your market? Oh, it's business owners in the UK. Well, how many of them are there? Well, I don't know. Well, I can tell you there's about 3 million of them, and you've got 2,000 of them. There's something wrong with this picture. Now, obviously, you're never going to get to 3 million. You probably don't want to get to 3 million. It might be that you just want to win business around your area in wherever you're based. It might be that you're a local business anyway. One of my clients is based around Newbury in Berkshire, and he doesn't want to be outside Newbury. He don't want to travel too far. So I've got other clients who are, one's working in Croatia next week. So his business is sort of almost worldwide. So it really depends. So my number one thing for you is to think about what strategies are you using right now to overcome obscurity? What are you doing to get known by people who don't know you right now? Because over the next 12 months, I think you need a plan to get better known. That's assuming you want to grow your business. I'm not sure it's the number one most important thing, but it's the It's the foundation of it. If you could get more people that you could send marketing messages to, then you could probably sell to more of those people. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, think about what you're doing. I mean, just to give you some idea, what do I do? Well, I run events like this. I speak on other people's events. I just did that this morning. This is my second talk this morning. I've got my website, which is really well optimized for Google, so it's out there 24/7, finding new people. I get about a 65% of the people who visit my website are new. They've never been there before. So that's good. I'm on LinkedIn every day, and every day I connect to 10 new people. I get 10 new people on my LinkedIn list every day. I'm growing my database of email addresses by about 100 new people every month. I don't buy lists, but what I do is I get them from LinkedIn and from Facebook and Instagram and people watching my videos and so on and so forth. I'm constantly looking at YouTube. I've just hit, interestingly, 2,000 videos on YouTube. I can't believe that. That's unbelievable. 2,000 videos I've got, which just blows my mind. But anyway, and to be honest, I don't get I'm not somebody who can sit here and say, well, my videos get 50,000, 5 million views and so on. It's like I wish, but they all get a few views and. Collectively, that adds up to quite a few views. You with me? So that's good. The one thing I do quite well in terms of views is my podcast. My podcast is on Apple, so it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon Music, and it's on Spotify, and that generates at least, on average, somewhere around about 8,000 views per episode. So I'm getting my name out there to those sort of people. I also do networking, which is a great way. The more people you meet, the more money ends up in your pocket. That is the ultimate way. It's all very well and coming to my website, but it's much better if I can meet them and talk to them and shake hands and have a conversation and so on, which sort of links into the third level here, which is getting people to know, like, and trust you. We'll talk about that in a minute. So think about what you're doing in terms of your sort of marketing, in terms of getting people to overcome obscurity, to get that first contact and get them into some form of database, be it social media, email database, or whatever. Or maybe it's just picking up the phone and calling people. You've got a list to call and go and call them. Go and think about all the people that you've had in the past. People who've perhaps overcome obscurity, but you've let them now become obscure because you've not been in touch with them, which comes to number two, which is consistent communication. If I met that lady in the street and she said yes to me, and I said, well, why don't we go out for a meal or a coffee, and we go out for a meal and we get on great. And at the end of that meal, I say to her, look, I'd love to see you again. I know we want to get married one day, but, let's go out again, shall we? And she says, yeah, I'd love to do that, Steve. So I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send you an email in 3 months' time. How about that? It's ludicrous, isn't it? And yet we do that in business all the time. We meet that. How often have you met somebody at a networking event, got on really well with them, exchanged business cards, and that's the last time you ever communicate with them? I know that's happened to me on many, many occasions. That happens to me on LinkedIn all the time, unless I do it, which I do. But people ask me to connect on LinkedIn, and I say yes. Sometimes they just pitch me straight away, but most of the time, to be honest, they just ignore me. And it's like, why? Why would you ask somebody to connect and then never communicate with them?
It's an
Yeah,
interesting point.
yeah, thank you.
But however, I was just thinking when we network these days, I mean, I do carry business cards,
Yeah,
but it's seen as rather old-fashioned.
yeah,
And people say, well, we don't really need business cards. Let's connect on LinkedIn. And you can
yeah,
click on your phone and click on their phone, and suddenly you're connected.
yeah.
When you get back to your office, if there are no business cards that you've picked up, how often do you actually go through the LinkedIn connections that you've made?
Yeah,
So, one of the problems as technology moves on is you have to have a new way of actually dealing with following up
yeah.
because you just won't think about it otherwise. You know, those business cards aren't sitting there looking at you and reminding you that those people are worth following up. So, what's your suggestion for dealing with that issue, Steve?
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, I don't know whether you can see that, guys. You probably can't see it that well.
Mm,
But I've found that, well, I was told about this by a friend and client of mine. It's an app, and it basically all it does. It's got my profile there. You can just about make that out at the top, and then
yeah,
it's got a scanner or a place where somebody can I can touch somebody's mobile phone and put my details into their phone, and it's called Haystack. So that's a great way of getting their details, at least at a networking event. They can just take a photograph of my haystack and automatically pull it into their phone, so they've got all my details. So that's the way. That's like the modern business card, I think.
well, but Steve, even with LinkedIn, you can do a click and you can
Yeah,
automatically
uh,
connect on LinkedIn. So you've got most of the details anyway.
yeah,
The
yeah,
problem is what you do afterwards, because if you've got it
yes,
sitting there on software, it's not sitting on your desk staring you in the face, is it? You've
no,
got to make some sort of effort to
yes.
actually look for it somewhere, whether it's on your phone or what have you. How do you give yourself the discipline that you get from cards staring you in the face
I,
to something that's obscure on your phone somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. How do I, if you ask me how I do it, I use a CRM system. I use something called High Level, which we actually resell as well, which I think is absolutely incredible. It does all the CRM stuff, but it does a phenomenal amount of other stuff as well. So what my system would be, if somebody connects to me on LinkedIn, what I do is I will send them a video. I send them a video to start with, trying to be different rather than hi, thanks for connecting on LinkedIn. I say it to them, so I'm starting to build that getting to know, like, and trust thing by talking to people. So I go, hi Peter, Steve Mills here. We just connected on LinkedIn. Thanks ever so much for connecting, and it's great to be a contact of yours. Be really cool to have a quick conversation, find out a little bit more about your business, tell you about what I do, and let's see if there's some sort of synergy between us. If you're open to that, here below you'll find a link to book a meeting. And if I don't hear from you, I'll give you a quick call over the next couple of days. Hope that's okay, Steve. That's a nice introduction, I think. It's not I'm trying to sell you anything because I'm not at this point. I don't know you. I don't know whether you're interested in what I do. I don't know whether I can help you. And worst case scenario, at least we've met, at least we've had a conversation. So that's how I start. And then I would automatically add them into my CRM system so that I could communicate with them through that. And I'd set myself a follow-up call the following day. And I use that almost like my Bible. I look at what I've got to do today, the people I've got to call, and then I call them. Again, just going back to what I said right at the beginning, there's now the technology around. I don't think it's as good as it could be yet. I will tell you that, but I think it will be good soon, where I can have somebody, well, I've got somebody called Amy, right? And what Amy will do is go, "Hi, my name's Amy. Steve Mills has asked me to give you a call. He's just connected to you on LinkedIn, and he sent you a video yesterday. In case you're wondering, I'm Steve's AI assistant, and he's asked me to call you to ask you if you'd like to set up that initial meeting. He's got tomorrow at 2 or Thursday at 6. Either of those two times any good for you?" And then Amy will have a conversation with that. If somebody said, "No, no, I can't do it at the moment. I'm really busy." Amy will say, "Well, what about next week? Are you free next week?" "No, okay. Well, he's got some time early June, if that's any good." "Oh, yeah, that would be great. Thank." And so that conversation goes on. Now, the reason I always tell people this is an AI is that they're thinking, "Is this an AI?" Well, it sounds like an AI. It sounds like I'm talking to an AI. And you are. So I just think, let's be open about it. But pretty soon that technology is going to be so good that you'll never know. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's already that good. We don't know. I'm actually on holiday in Tenerife at the moment, and you're listening to an AI of me talking to you today. No, I'm joking. But it wouldn't be impossible, would it? I wonder whether it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be impossible
It
at all,
wouldn't be
Stephen. It's
impossible.
almost inevitable that it's going to happen, isn't it? If it's not happened already, then it will. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, we've still got around, these bank things, if you're interested in this, press one. If you're interested in that, press two. We know that's not a human because we can tell it in the voice. It sounds terrible now, and the voice now is so much better. But it's just going to get better and better and more human-like. I've been fooled once. I'll not go into that story because it takes me a few minutes, but I was talking to somebody and chatting away, and I had no idea it was an AI until it told me it was. So all very clever. So, consistent communication is my message. We need to communicate with people. Don't be worried about this thing that everybody seems to be so scared about, that we're bombarding people. We're bombarding that. We don't want to bombard people. No, we don't, but we do want to keep in touch with them on a regular basis. When was the last time you kept in touch with your customers? Where you phone them, you email them, you text them, you WhatsApp them. What about your prospects? What about the people that you've met networking and so on and so forth? So we've got to keep in touch, because what we want to do is to build this relationship to a level where they know, like, and trust you. They know, like, and trust your product or service, and they know, like, and trust your company. And once we've got to that level, and we've got like I don't know, a 10 out of 10. I really like Peter. I know he's good at what he does. His company seemed great. What am I going to do? Go to Google to try and find somebody that does what Peter does? Or am I going to phone this guy who I know, like, and trust? Why do I know, like, and trust him? Because I've been on his webinars. I met him at networking events. I've read his book. We're connected on LinkedIn. I read his posts. I've watched his videos, and so on and so forth. So he's got to a level in my world where I know, like, and trust him. And when I need his service, which might not be today, it might be in a month's time, he's the guy I'm going to call on. Okay. And that's almost like the tipping point, I think, in this relationship. We've met some strangers, we've communicated with them consistently over a period of time. We've developed our reputation, really, which is what it's all about, to a level where they know, like, and trust us. They believe we're good at what we do, and they know that we can help them. That's what we want. We've then got to get them to that step 4 to communicate back with us. Once we're getting people communicating, if it's all going out from me, then that's great. But if people are not communicating back, then if they're not, I'm sending out an email with a link to a video on that nobody watches, then that's not so good. So I've got to get people coming back to me. And we've got to get communication. Once we get that, then we've got to be working on and trying and communicating back to them about the opportunity of meeting up. Now, in my world, I tend to do most of my meetings like this on Zoom, which is not perfect, but it's better than traveling up and down the country like I used to do years ago, traveling hundreds or thousands of miles every week to meet people in different parts of the world. So we're very lucky, I think, that we can do that, particularly when you live on an island. I'll tell you, that's even more difficult getting, just the time it takes. It takes me it's probably about an hour and a half to go. I'm going to say it's 10 miles to Portsmouth. So my first 10 miles takes me an hour and a half by the time I've got to the ferry and, sat
Bit
waiting.
like living in the centre of London, then, really.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Peter. Yeah, yeah, probably so. So we got to get those meetings, ideally in person, if not, online. It's always better, I think, to meet them, but we've got to do that. Then what we've got to consider is our meeting conversion rate. A lot of people don't ever think about that and consider what can I do to improve my meeting conversion rate. So your meeting conversion rate is, let's say in May you get 10 meetings and you convert two of them, right? You got a 20% conversion rate. Now, if you could improve that by just 20% and go from 2 out of 10 to 4 out of 10, what have you just done? Over time, you've doubled your business. And this is where the real leverage comes in. If you can become better at turning those, well, I suppose turning those opportunities into meetings and then turning those meetings into sales, that's where all the leverage is. So we need to think about, how much training have you done in sales, in defending price? If I said to you, it's too expensive, I want to think about it, I need to speak to my partner, the time's not right, I don't have a budget, I want to get three other quotes, and so on and so forth. There are only a limited number of objections that people make. And if we've got a really good answer and response to those objections, we might be able to go from 2 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 or to 4 out of 10 even. And if we could do that, that's really good. And if we've got a system that backs that up, that's even more powerful, I believe. So we need that system in place. So, I think uh, I think that's a really good sales system for anybody who's certainly in the B2B market, anybody who's in any industries other than things like retail. It's a great way of thinking about your business and what you need to do along the way. So, oh, sorry, I was just trying to come out of there now. Yeah, open to any questions that you may have. And I'll open the floor up to the two of you, really.
Okay. Do you want to say anything, Alison, or do you want me to start?
You start.
Okay. Uh, what I tend to do, Steve, is I think of a business as it's very. In fact, you and I have discussed in the past. Businesses are very simple, actually. In theory, it's the practice that's difficult. So, in theory, all you need is a market that is willing to pay, a market that's big enough and willing to actually pay you for the services you offer
Yeah,
at a profit. So if you can sell something at a profit, then you know that you've got a business. If you can't, then you're stuck. So the
true.
first thing is, how big's the market for your particular product?
Mm,
And therefore part of the skill in marketing comes from determining how you reduce that size of market down to the people who are likely to be customers for you. So, in other words, there are going to be loads of people that you connect on LinkedIn that have got absolutely no intention of doing any work with you because they're actually part of a large corporate, and they're not in the market at all. They're not SMEs, so
Oh,
they're not in the market for a start. And then if you you come down to SMEs and you say, right, okay, so which SMEs do I want to work with? And they can be anything from sort of one-man bands up to several hundred, up to a couple of hundred employees. So, and it's a big market, but how much of that can you actually service? How much would you want to service, and how many of those people would want you to service them?
mm,
And again, a one-man band is not going to be as keen on paying 2,500 a month to you for a particular service, if that's what you charge. You're looking for probably at least sort of 20 employees that before you'd even have a starting price. So there, marketing's a fascinating subject, and so is sales.
mm.
And if you can get that market down sufficiently small enough to give you a good chance of actually making the sale before you visit them or Zoom them, well, particularly visit them because it can be, as you say, it could be a long trek. So you need to try and focus things. So the thing is, to some extent, if you deal with a certain niche, it makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it? So
It does. Yeah, yeah.
sometimes niching can be a good way of improving your chances of
I
in a
agree. Yeah,
market,
and
regardless of
just
the
before
size of the market, but
it,
it improves your chance when you're actually selling.
it
But
does.
in theory, I mean, we've got a good friend, Mike, who will tell you that in actual fact, you should never have any objections because you've already determined from the client what it is they want
And the value that, yeah,
and the value that they will get from it. And therefore, if they're going to, charge, if you're going to charge them £500 a month and they're going to benefit by £3,000 a month, then the logic of it makes it easier. And
absolutely.
although it's the emotion that does the selling, it's the logic that keeps it going.
It's like if it comes back to that obscurity thing, doesn't it? I could say, well, I'm doing great. I've got 15,000 LinkedIn contacts. But as you said, if they're all businesses all over the world and I just work with hotels on the Isle of Wight, that's my market, then there's no value in that. It's like why do you connect? It's also a factor, I think, when people go networking. They go to a networking event, which tends to be full of small business owners, but their target market are big corporates, and we need to find where the big corporates market, for me anyway. That's my belief. I know people say, well, it's not the people in the room, it's the people that they know. And there is some truth in that, but ultimately it's the people in the room. But I think what you said about niching is really powerful as
Yeah.
well. It comes to like, if I said, if my target market was hotels on the Isle of Wight, which it isn't, but if it was, I go to a hotel and say, hi, my name's Steve Mills. I've got 31 years experience helping businesses with their marketing. Would you be interested in, me doing a review of your marketing or meeting up? Would that be of interest? Yeah, they might be. But if I said, I've got 31 years experience in the hotel industry in marketing, I'm a specialist within that market, and I wondered whether you'd be interested in a no obligation meeting to talk about marketing your hotel. Oh, and by the way, I've helped this hotel and that hotel on the Isle of Wight to grow by 45% over the last 12 months. Which you're going to go with? If you were a hotel owner, it's like, no, it's a no-brainer. Would you pay me more because I'm a specialist? Probably. How much more? 10%, 20, 30? You know, people like people who are specialists without any shadow of a
Yeah.
doubt. You know,
I
would you
think part of
look at it from this point of view? If I wanted to build a swimming pool in my garden, would I hire a local builder or would I hire a swimming pool specialist who you know spends his life building swimming pools?
Mm.
So what do you do, Alison?
So I do a mixture of podcasting and events and healing. Um,
Oh,
and
what sort of healing do you do?
I think with marketing, part of it is thinking about who is my ideal client and where do they hang out?
Mm,
Which publications do they read?
mm,
Which social media
yeah,
platforms are they on?
yeah, yeah, I agree.
So that you can target. But one thing that I find very helpful to do, so I run events and I run retreats, is sometimes collaborating with somebody else
Mm,
and creating a unique event with that person and then running it with them.
Yeah,
Because what that does is it puts you onto the radar of their circle,
yeah, yeah,
mm.
yeah.
and can get people that way
It,
interested in
it,
you.
it's a great way of doing it because you're like doubling your marketing, aren't you?
Yeah,
You know. Let's say, for example, if the three of us got together to run an event, and I market it to my people and get 20 people there. You do the same, and Peter does the same. All of a sudden, instead of being in front of 20 people that already know, like, and trust me, we're now in front of 60 people, 40 of which are new to me. So
yeah.
that's great. I'm getting my name, my reputation, and so on. And you two are doing the same. Perhaps we ought to do that.
Actually, perhaps we ought to.
I didn't say it for that reason, but perhaps that's a good
The
idea.
thing is, the fact that you're doing an event, and it could be online or it could be in person, and
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
in person, even better,
yeah,
but people have a chance to actually get to know you a
yes.
little bit as well, through doing it through that methodology.
One of the biggest sales I ever got was I did a talk at the Canada UK Chamber of Commerce in London. And after it was an evening event, you know, it was a free event, and loads of people turned up. But afterwards, I was giving away, it's a few years ago, I was giving away CDs to people who were interested. And one guy got the CD and he said he listened to it in the car and he knocked on his partner's door at 6 o'clock the following morning. This is him saying it was absolute truth. I knocked on my partner's door 6 o'clock in the morning, woke him up, told him he had to listen to this CD. So we sat and listened to it again. And at 8 o'clock, he phoned me up and he went, "Oh, hi, I don't know whether you remember me. You gave me a CD. I met you last night. I want to hire you." That was that was it.
Wow.
And you know, he hadn't really met me. Didn't know how much I charged, anything at all. I'd built my credibility up to a level where he just wanted to hire me. You know, even though I'd never even spoken to him. And that's the power of, you know, you said, Alison, you know, getting in front of people.
Mm,
You know, and you know, the positioning's great, particularly if you're at an event, because you know, everybody's there to see you, aren't they?
yeah,
So
It's
absolutely.
the time's gone very quickly,
yes,
Steve,
it has. Yeah, yeah.
and it's now just turned quarter two, so I need to shoot.
No,
But
that's absolutely fine, Peter. We said we'd go on till quarter two, and we're 1 minute late, so we'll just take that. We'll finish now. Thank you for being here. If I do make this offer at the end of all my events, if you would like to book a one-to-one to talk about your business and to talk about, you know, how together we might be able to improve it in some way. I've worked with 10,000 businesses. I get a 40, I've done some research on this. I get an average of 46% increase over the first 12 months of working with me. So if that's of interest, and by the way, on the pricing, my pricing starts at £25 a month for something I call my Kickstart program, which is for business startups because they haven't got as Peter said, £2,000 to pay me per month, or you know, they haven't got the £500 to join my results mastery program, but they've probably got 25 quid to take the first step. So no matter what level of business you are, if you're listening to this on a recording, perhaps, we can come together and I can help you in some way.
Okay, thanks, Steve. A
Okay,
pleasure
Thank
to meet
you.
you, Alison.
And you.
both of you, and good to see you, and have a great weekend. Take care for now.
Enjoy. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.